I tell you what, in the Fantastic Beasts movies, there was always a thing written in which I would have to do a humiliating dance. So I have been known while my children are in the bath, do what would probably consist of an embarrassing tick dance across the door, back and forth with them, which used to make them laugh when they were tiny, and now they're all mature and 6 and 4. And they're like, Dad, stop embarrassing me. It's so weird being an actor. You sort of expect that you should have thought this stuff through, but weirdly you haven't. And so I had this thing where they both asked, Daddy, are you a wizard? You want to say yes, but you also don't want to lie to your children. And so in the moment I said sort of, which was really confusing for them. I did a crappy little magic trick, which and they were like, that's okay, but that's not like making buildings disappear like you do in the trailer. So they're not only confused, but slightly angry. I once crashed a wedding. I was so young that it didn't even occur to me that it was weird to go to a wedding. Anyway, the chapel was absolutely tiny, and obviously I didn't know anyone there. So as they were cramming everyone in, there was overspill, and I said, look, at which point they were like, no, come on in, stand in the aisle. So I ended up standing in the aisle right at the front of the church next to the bride and groom, who were looking at me being like, who the fuck is this guy? And not only that, but the service, orders of service at weddings, you kind of read, and then there'll be the vows, and there was so-and-so, it was quite short. And then at the end it said, now there'll be a talk by a representative of the Dalai Lama, which went on for an hour. And I was standing there next to the bride and groom, trying not to faint. Was it Savage Grace? With Julianne Moore. I played Julianne's son, and it's a true story. This guy was gay, and his mum tried to sleep with him. But there ended up being a ménage à trois with this other man that she was seeing, who was also seeing the son. So it was a 3-in-a-bed scene with Julianne and Hugh Dancy. And it was definitely one of the more surreal experiences of my life. Then he murders her. It turns from incest to violence. My early work, before I found tweeds and period dramas. My first red carpet look was for a film called The Good Shepherd. And I just couldn't believe that I got to borrow such a beautiful suit. It was my Calvin Klein, and it sort of got fitted the day of, and I'm not sure it entirely fit. I remember arriving to the premiere and getting the timings all wrong. It was in New York, and suddenly there was a load of traffic, and I was basically going to miss the premiere. And Angelina Jolie and Matt Damon and Robert De Niro were in the movie, so it's not like they needed me there anyway. So I ended up running through Manhattan in said Calvin Klein suit, which makes it sound really romantic, like something out of a sort of perfume ad. It wasn't. I was just sweaty. I'm a Capricorn. What does that mean? I'm like one of those people, when people go, what's your sign? You go, I'm a Capricorn. They go, oh. And I'm like, oh, what the fuck does that mean, that oh? As far as I can work out, it's never necessarily a compliment. And it's a bit like, I've always had this thing with parts when I don't like to sort of choose parts. I prefer it when directors come and say, you would be right for this. And there was one years ago, I was making My Week with Marilyn. I got a phone call from a director called Michael Grandage, brilliant theatre director and film director. And he said, Eddie, I'm going to say 2 words to you, and you have to say yes or no. And they are Richard II, which was Richard II. He was saying, would I play Richard II? And I was too embarrassed to admit that I'd never read Richard II, who, by the way, I think has the same birthday as I do, January 6th. And also various people in my life over the years had always said, you know what part you should play? Richard II. So I thought, well, enough people have said this. And I then went and read Richard II and read about Richard II, and he was completely inept. He was pathetic, he was weak, useless king. Your star sign, of course you're a Capricorn. I'm like, what? Am I allowed to play with this thing? Listening to anything I'm saying, because nothing is as interesting as this internet sensation. I mean, what the fuck is this? What is it? It's got all sorts of, oh my God, this is amazing. Pleasing is such a lovely word. It is pleasing, yeah. And soothing. Is that what it's for? Is it like one of those weird things that become a trend for chilling people out?